Hey everybody, welcome to Season 3 of Song Revolution. Get ready to ramp up your songwriting. Hey everybody, John back with another episode of Song Revolution. This is going to be a great one. I'm so glad that you're here. Before I introduce my very special guest today, I want to remind you that we're still doing the 2025 Songwriting Challenge, and you can download that PDF in the show notes and jump over to NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com to check out all of the freebies, all the goodies that we have for you, but also our 4 coaching programs that could really be your next right step in fulfilling your passionate call to write and sing for Jesus and share your love, your testimony, and worship. We're here for you. Our mission statement is to empower Christian songwriters and artists worldwide, and we're doing that in a pretty big way. So I hope that you'll jump on and find the things that really could be the most meaningful and impactful for your life today. So my guest today, I love to do these interviews, and my guest today is a dear friend of mine from way back. We go all the way back to 1988. He's been telling me before the show things that I don't even remember. I think those brain cells died. But we have 1/3 of the dynamic trio, Phillips, Craig, and Dean, here with us today. An incredible, nearly 30-year career, 4 Doves, I think, probably a bunch of other nominations and awards along the way. They've sung for millions, sold a couple of million albums, and it's just been a delight to watch their ministry and their career, and to have with us today Dan Dean.
What a delight to be with you. And the reason I remember some things you don't remember is probably because you were a big help to me back then, and you never forget people who give you a little lift on your ride forward, and you were that for me, and I really appreciate it. I've never forgotten it.
Oh, thanks, Dan. It was kind of an intersection in my life, as I'd been with the Gaithers, and then it became Star Song, and I was with them for about 7 years. But about the time we were becoming friends and talking about your music, you and Randy and Sean were all solo artists, kicking around, trying to figure out what to do. I loved all of you guys and just really appreciated what you were doing. But right when the Phillips, Craig, and Dean deal was being signed with Star Song, I left.
Yes, you did.
I wound up at Integrity Music, but
yeah, you went to the publishing side, as I recall. Is that right?
Yeah, more so. And I remember that I got one little credit on your first album. I remember looking at it on the J card. No, people don't even know what J cards anymore.
Not anymore.
And the cassette tape, and I'm like, there I am. And so, anyway, it's been just an awesome thing to watch you guys just skyrocket all these years.
Well, it's been a great ride, and thanks to you from myself personally, because you reached out to me when I had that first little solo project in 1988. It was a cassette. Do you remember those? I don't even think I ever got CDs with that. It was just a cassette tape, and by the time I'd reached the cover, I was out of money, so the cover itself was horrible. And somehow you overlooked all of that and reached out to me and said, there's some really great songs on here. What are you doing with those? And I had no idea about anything about publishing. And you helped me get a couple cuts, for which I'm grateful.
I remember that. I do remember that. Now,
a Cathedral Quartet cut.
Isn't that great? And they were
so great,
so iconic. So, and now you're back with a new solo record that we'll wait. Let's don't talk about that just yet. But do you remember any of the songs from your very first cassette?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I remember a whole lot of them. He Saw What I Could Be was the Cathedral cut. My Turn to Give, you got me a cut with somebody on that one, and a song called The Letter.
That's the one that I remember.
And amazingly enough, there was a song on that project called He Won't Give Up Easy. I don't know if you remember that. But that song actually is on the new project that I
love
just
it.
released.
I love it. Oh, hello.
Just
Tell him I'm busy.
so sorry about that.
Just tell him. No, we're going to leave that in the show. So just to show it happens to the best of us.
Anyway, that song has made it onto this new project. Gordon Mote was one of the producers, and I let him hear the song. He said, "I think we need to do that again." So we re-recorded it.
Now, do you remember? Could you sing a chorus of the letter? That was the song
He
that
whispers,
yeah.
"Come to me if you're weak and laden down." He whispers, "I will always give you rest." You remember that?
I do.
I love to touch the pages with my fingers.
Mm-hmm.
It was a beautiful song. I didn't write that one, but
it caught my attention.
My producer at the time, a guy named Nate Sabin out of Minneapolis.
Absolutely, yeah.
He and a friend wrote that, and it was piano and vocal was all it was on the project, and it turned out really great.
Well, that was the song that really caught my ear back in the day, and hey, it led to some great things off of that record. And how many have you done with Phillips, Craig, and Dean since? Do you even know?
I want to say 14 studio albums, not including like our Christmas and special project albums. We did a hymns project. It's been an amazing ride. You said 33 years. It's 30 years. We actually started our 33rd year. Our first time to sing was October of 1991. And our first album was released in, I want to say it was June of 92. And unlike a lot of groups, we had not sang together a handful of times when we went into the studio. It was like we were creating our sound on the first album, and I think if you listen to the first album and 2 or 3 later, it's like, okay, they finally locked in.
Right, they figured it out.
We didn't really know what we were doing, just trying to develop a sound. And I do remember when we recorded our first 3 demos, we each had a song that we'd written that we went into a little studio and laid down some very basic demo tracks. And I took the cassette home to my wife, and we sat out in the van in the driveway listening. And one of the songs was a song called Midnight Oil, which went on our first album. And I remember my wife and I said, there's really something special about that harmony. It just feels like we're brothers or something. And sure enough, the harmony is what I think made Phillips, Craig, and Dean likable to a lot of people. And it's been a great ride.
It has been, and so many iconic songs along the way. What songs you just pulled out Midnight Oil, but what other 2 or 3 songs would you say? Revelation songs stayed at number 1 for so long for you guys, and really has probably been the most iconic, I would say, out of the repertoire. But I've loved so many along the way. What are 2 or 3 of your faves?
Well, it's the ones I've written, of course.
Of course, yeah. Good answer.
Our favorite song, our first album favorite song of all was one that I had written.
The favorite song of all.
That's it. And let's see, Mercy Came Running, Crucified with Christ. I didn't write Crucified. Randy did that one.
Yeah.
This Is How It Feels to Be Free. And Lord, there's just been a ton of songs that the radio was very good to us as well. They played nearly everything we released, and how do you explain it any other way except God's favor on us? 3 guys that hadn't been singing together get together, and God just blessed us, man. We've been in all 50 states with the exception of Rhode Island.
Come on, Rhode Island.
So if somebody in Rhode Island wants to invite us to come in and sing, it would just make the cycle complete.
Come on, level up. RI. Absolutely. Well, you guys just had such an immediately accessible, friendly, wholesome kind of sound, and the harmonies, of course, do that. And when I think back about what was happening even at Star Song Records back in 92, when your first record came out, you were an anomaly. You really weren't like much else. I mean, they had Twyla, they had Newsboys, they had Petra. So you guys were kind of middle of the road. CCM, I guess, Twyla maybe.
Jeff Mosley, who was with
Star
Song at the time, has coined a phrase. I hate to use it but it's kind of true. He said, "You were church nerds done good." All three of us pastors' kids, and grew up in the church and learned our harmony basically by the old Pentecostal style of just everybody find a part here, and that parallel kind of harmony, and it just worked. And then several times in the 33-year period, our career has been resurrected by just God. We were thinking we were about done. Our Restoration album recouped, but it wasn't our greatest album, didn't get a lot of radio success. And we convinced Sparrow, who we were with at the time, to let us do a praise and worship album. And they were like very hesitant to do that, but it put us back on the map again. Nathan Knuckles produced Let My Words Be Few. Great. That was a number one song for us, and we were back in it again. And then about the time we're thinking, okay, we're about done, Bernie Herms comes along and he does the Fearless album, and we have Revelation Song, and it's like God just breathes life into us on occasion just to make sure we're still in love with doing what we're doing.
Right. How do you stay in love and singing the same songs? I know you guys have all been lead pastors for all these years. You've never given up local church ministry. Kudos for you guys. That must have been very difficult at times, but how do you keep it fresh when you sing the same songs over and over?
Well, we've had, when you're out singing these songs, we've had to come to the realization, especially at this point in our career, that people want to hear the songs they remember you by. And you want to pull out a new song and nobody wants to hear the new. They want to hear, I want to hear Crucified with Christ, or When God Ran, or, some of these songs that have done really well. And the one thing that helps us a lot is we're not on the road a lot anymore. With Randy and Sean still being lead pastors, I stepped down 5 years ago, which has given me the time to do this solo project. But we're not on the road a ton, so when we do go out, it's refreshing to us to be in front of a live audience and get to sing these hits. If I go and see the Eagles, I don't want to hear something off a new album. I want to hear their hits.
Totally.
So we've come to the realization and embraced that, and to see people still respond and be moved by the songs that have covered all these albums, it's a real blessing.
Yeah.
And I will be honest, a lot of times we get more blessed than the people we're singing to. Some of these songs, Crucified with Christ, you just don't get tired of singing that message. It's just amazing.
Yeah, so powerful. And I had the privilege, I didn't write the song, but I got to be the voice of the song Firm Foundation 30 years ago for Integrity Music. And that one song and one album really opened up a global worship leading platform for me. And I've been to Africa, I think 5 or 6 times, and I sing that song until I just don't even know if I can sing it again. But they love it. That's Absolutely. What they want. Everywhere we go,
want to hear it.
That's what they want. I think your analogy is really spot on. You want to hear the songs that brought some kind of emotional, spiritual impact in your life. And so
I will say, the last 10, 12 concerts we've been out, they sang with me on one of the songs on this new project, and they've been gracious enough to say, "Oh, Dan has a new album. We're going to sing it now." And so I've been singing the song "Traveling Light," which is the first cut on this album.
One. Yeah,
and the harmonies is great on that song.
So you're not ditching the guys. You're going to hang in there.
No, was never a consideration. I went to them and said, "Hey, I got this extra time. I got songs. What do you think about this?" And they gave me their blessing. And I told them my priority is still always going to be Phillips, Craig, and Dean. But, I'm hoping there will be some dates that I can do that'll be solo dates. That'll be a combination of singing some of these new songs and songs from Phillips, Craig, and Dean.
Awesome.
I have one this coming Sunday that I'll be singing at a church, and I'll do a little of both.
That's great. Well, Dan, let's take a quick break, and then I want to come back and just really dig down into some of the songs on the new record, More, produced by Gordon Mote and Jason Webb. And great sounding record. I've been listening to it all morning, and it has great feel, great songs, of course. So as a song guy, let's dig into that in just a moment, all right?
Great.
All right, we'll be right back with more of Dan Dean, Phillips, Craig, and Dean, out with a brand new album called More. I think you're going to really love that, and maybe we can even preview a couple of the songs in post-editing for you. But take a quick break here and check out NCS Community. What would it feel like to have 52 weeks of access to the right people in Nashville? People who've been making music for decades. People who can answer every question that you have about what pro-level music making is all about. Well, you can get that and more by joining NCS Community. Our community is a group of worldwide dedicated Christian songwriters who want what you want, to glorify God with your gifts and to get your music out there. I hope that you'll consider joining NCS Community today. I really hope that you will consider joining NCS Community. There's nothing like it on the planet. We meet every Tuesday, 11:30 Central. You get encouragement, coaching, peer critique, and we do some pro critique, say that 4 times really fast, every month. But it's just a place where you can connect with dedicated Christian songwriters all over the world. There's just nothing like it. It's very affordable. We have a 14-day free trial. You can pay monthly, or you can join for the year and save a few pennies. So we'd love for you to consider that. If you're really ready, hungry to take some next steps in your ministry, check out NCS Community. Well, I'm back with Dan Dean, my old buddy from Phillips, Craig, and Dean, out with a new album called More. We're very excited to hear about that. And in the break, we were having some conversation. It made me think about the fact that none of us got into this on our own, right? I mean, we're all standing on someone's shoulders, and the decisions that they made in their lives. I think about the Gaithers, so much of what I teach and so much of the success in my career. I'm 43 years in Christian music this year. Really, I learned from them, the way that they mentored and coached me and opened doors for me. But it was really their faith and their story, their faithfulness that really made it possible for me and who knows how many people to fulfill our calling. And I know that you have a story about your dad and going all the way back to the original Cassette for a Dream. So why don't you unpack a little of that for us?
Yeah, my father was a World War II veteran, shot 3 times during the war. And he was, when he went into the war as a paratrooper, tried to get in early, and they wouldn't let him because of his age, but because everybody back then was joining the Army to go fight in World War II. But he, when he got in, he went in as a paratrooper because they paid him $50 more a month, I think it was, not knowing what he was really getting into. But there's just a couple of stories that I'll bring out. The second time he got shot, he was in southern France, and he got shot through the stomach. It was a nasty wound, and he had, because they were paratroopers, they had no access to anything but morphine, and just for the pain, until they could get him to a hospital ship, which was, I think, the 4th or 5th day after he got shot. Gangrene had set in.
Oh, my gosh.
It was a nasty situation. But there was a little French house, and this young 11, 12-year-old boy would come out during the day 3 or 4 times and give my dad a drink of water. And at the 50th anniversary, my dad went back. He went to and somehow found that little house in France where he had laid out in that barn, went up, knocked on the door, and this boy was now the man living in that house. They couldn't talk to each other, but they both wept. Stood there on the steps and wept, and of course the guy invited him in, and it was a surreal moment for my father and unleashed just a flood of stories that he began to tell to us. But the real impactful story was 1944 December. They dropped into Belgium outside a little village called Mount Saint Jacques, and were making their way across this field, and they ran into an ambush. It was a row of machine gunners who all of a sudden just leveled their guns and started mowing them down, about 600 guys. And my father was at the far end of one of the lines. They dug down into the snow. It was very bitter cold, like high of 14 degrees. I don't know how these guys survived. But off to their flank, a German tank pulled out of a barn, lowered its barrel, and started dropping those huge shells down that long row of men. And recounting it, my dad told us boys how you chose how you were going to die. You try to run, and the machine gunners would get you, or you could lay there in the snow and take your chances on the shrapnel that was exploding from those shells and just killing men by the hundreds. And that day he buried his head in the snow. He wasn't a Christian, and he prayed a prayer similar to this. He said, God, I don't know you. I don't profess that I know you, but I make this promise. If you'll get me home, I promise you this, the rest of my life will be yours. And somehow, out of all the hundreds of guys that got killed that day, he managed to survive. He did get shot. The guy next to him, he watched die, got shot through the lungs with shrapnel. And he came back home, and I would say the first year he tried to forget, maybe tried to forget that promise, but he couldn't. And so he gave his heart to the Lord, a little church, and at 30, entered into ministry. In 1967, I was the 7th grade. We moved to a military town, Fort Hood, Texas, and he began to serve veterans coming home from the Vietnam War, just loving them and telling them about Jesus. And when he died, I looked in the back of his Bible, and he had written down the names of every GI that he had led to Christ during his 20-year span at that church, and it was over 2,000 names. It was incredible. But the legacy goes, it's just unbelievable how God used him. He had 5 sons. All of those sons ended up in ministry. And at last count, there were 8 grandchildren that are in full-time ministry, and I think 2 great-grandchildren to this point that are in full-time ministry. So the power of one man's decision can impact generations.
That's absolutely astounding.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and all of the stories we'll never hear, all the ripples out from his life, not only including you guys, but all other things we'll never know till heaven. It's just fascinating.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for sharing that. Why don't we talk, with that kind of as the backdrop, talk about your new album, More. I know we want to talk about that song, as well as the song that you have sung home with your son, Devin. You want to start with More?
Let's start with More. I wrote that during COVID. Sitting at the piano at my house, a little bit depressed with all the stuff that was going on and couldn't get out, and I'm a very social person, and that really impacts your world when you can't get out and be with church people. And I was, at that time, I had just stepped down as the lead pastor of the church. Shortly after COVID started, I walked into my son's office up at the church, and I said, "Thank God I'm not the pastor." Thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I came home and wrote that song, and it's just a song that I hope will give people encouragement to know that God is walking with them no matter where they find themselves, and He's always got more than you need. And I had the privilege of having Emily Ann Roberts join me on this song, and Jason as well, and it put it over the top, I think, and I'm just really happy with the way it turned out.
It's an incredible chorus. Can you? And sometimes it's hard to speak.
He's got more healing.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Got to get a little higher. He's got more healing than you got broken pieces. He's got more freedom than you've got chains. He's got more grace than your sins combined together. He's got more. It just kind of goes like that.
Love it. Great.
So,
that's awesome.
Just talking about God always has more of what you need.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about Emily Ann and Jason, just so the audience
Emily Ann
knows
I think she was on one of the episodes of The Voice and went quite far into competition. And her voice and her spirit, she's just an amazing writer. I say she has everything any artist would like to have. She's cute as a button. She's very talented, plays the guitar extremely well. She's a great songwriter, and above all else, she can sing the paint off the walls. She is so good. And if you haven't seen The Building, her official video of a song called The Building, it's amazing. I think she collaborated with Michael Farron on that song and maybe somebody else. And
you're not going to go wrong with Michael.
Amazing.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, she sounds great on the record. She's on Never Gets Old as well.
That's somebody different.
No, that's somebody different, but
Yeah.
Emma Rose.
Emma Rose is Scott Williamson's
daughter.
daughter.
Of course, yeah.
She's amazing too.
That whole Williamson
I predict
family.
she's going to end up on Broadway. I really do. I think she will.
So I produced the Williamson family right before I left Star Song. Their very first
the whole
album,
family's
when
incredible.
they were all like tiny kids, so just amazing
Scott
story.
played drums on about half of this project.
Yeah.
So he's an incredible drummer.
Yeah,
He's been on a lot of our Phillips, Craig and Dean projects as
he's
well.
just so. He was just a kid.
He's wonderful to work with. Awesome.
So let's talk about your son Devin and the song "Home."
Devin is an incredibly talented musician, singer. People tell me he sounds a lot like me, and I would have to agree. We got the family thing going there, but has been the worship pastor at our church for a number of years now. And he sent me this song, "Tell Me What You Think About This, Dad," and I just fell in love with it immediately. It's kind of a Ben Rectorish kind of sounding song. And so when it came time to do the album, I said, "Do you mind if I put this on the project?" Of course, he was happy to do it. And I said, "Do you mind coming and singing with me on the song?" He said, "Happy to." So he's on this song with me doing the harmony, and he takes the second verse, and it's a delightful song about just the comforts of home. My favorite line is, "Leave the porch light on, for me, I'm coming home." It's a great song.
And he just wrote it himself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All by himself. I need to introduce the two of you.
Love it. Yeah.
He needs to be a part of this.
And bring it on.
Awesome.
But he's pastoring the church that you...
No, that's my oldest son.
Oh, okay.
He's the worship pastor.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, my oldest son came on as an intern at the church when he was 19 years old and had probably 3 or 4 opportunities to go elsewhere during that, get people call wanting to hire him, and he decided to stay. And so when it came time for me that I was ready to step down, the church said, "We think Dusty should be our pastor." And he's done fantastic. He was, he was probably 40 years old before that day came. He's maybe a little younger than that, but not much. And has done a fantastic job, doing a great job.
That's fantastic. So do I understand that you wrote "Mother of Boys" for
did.
your mom? And
That's Michael Farron with me on that, and Tony
okay,
Woods. But
yeah.
I found when my last brother left home and my mother had the empty nest, I found this poem on the wall that she had written, and the inspiration for this song came from that poem. Of course, I had to try to change it from her point of view to my point of view as a son, and I can't hardly. I would say I would recite the words of the poem she wrote, but I can never do it without breaking down. I cry every time I read the poem. But my mother devoted her life to her boys. She really did. She laid down her life to ensure that her kids got everything they needed. And it was, I found out later when my wife became a mother and she decided to stay home to raise her kids, that it's, in a lot of ways, it's probably a lot easier to go to work and drop them off somewhere, because it's a job to raise kids. But my mother was fantastic, and so I think it's appropriate. There's really two songs on this album that kind of are a reflection of my mother. There's another song called "Never Gets Old" that I watched my mother go through these different seasons of her life. And, from having kids as small, and then the times we're around the table all together. And we had this little, I don't know if you remember this, John, but they had a little mold of a loaf of bread.
Oh, totally.
And inside that were promises
Little
from the Bible.
scriptures,
And every
yeah.
meal we would pull one out, and before we said grace, we would read that promise.
Yeah.
Then she moved in the part of life where the kids were all grown and gone. And until finally she's at the last stages of her life. I would go up there to see her, and her little Bible would be laying open, marked up, tears. And that song is a reflection of her life and how her leaning into the Word of God got her through every season. Even the death of her husband. Wow. He died 10 years before she did. And so
beautiful.
I really do love that song as well.
This is an incredible record. Congratulations on More. It's definitely worthy. It stands up to all of your other work, and we wouldn't have expected anything less. I've got one last question for you. Here
Sure.
You are 33 years later, having the dreams that so many people have of making it in music, having a ministry, having the radio hits, the longevity that you guys have enjoyed. You've worked for it, but I know there are certain rewards that come with that as well. What would you say to someone that might be listening today? Maybe they're young, maybe they're a solo artist or a worship leader. Looking back, what would you have said to your younger self that you might say to them?
Well, I think one of the things that I can look back and say, this is what carried me when I didn't think I was ever going to make it, and that is, in my heart, I would go anywhere they would ask me to sing. And I was on staff at a local church, and I really wanted my craft that I felt like God had blessed me with to bless my church first. In fact, they were my testing soundboard. I would go out, write a new song, go out, and we would sing it, or I'd have somebody sing it. I didn't always have to sing it, and if it really went well, I'd mention the fact that I had written it. If it didn't go so well, put it back in the file.
Oops, nope.
But I can remember when I first started traveling, there were several trips that I went on, and I took a band with me that I went in the hole. Didn't make money at all. In fact, paid money to go out and sing. And one particular trip, I remember my wife and I talking about it, and she said, you're going in the hole. I said, I know I can't do this forever, but, as if God will help me to do this, I feel called to do this. And we had that conversation, and a few days later, I got a check in the mail from one of the churches that I'd been to, And there was a note in there that said, when you came, I didn't really have enough to pay you like I should, and here's to make up for that. And I think I would just tell anybody out there, it sounds trite, and I know probably if people have heard it, but bloom where you're planted. If people are being blessed where you're currently engaged in writing and singing, it will grow, it will expand, it'll get out there, and you just have to keep plugging along. This is the truth of the matter, and it's going to expose my age, which is okay, I guess. I'm not ashamed of it, but I did not have success with Phillips, Craig, and Dean until I was in my mid-30s. So, that's a long time of plugging along and not having success. And you can probably understand why I told my wife, I just don't think it's going to happen. It's a young person's game. I remember telling her that. And yet, here we are.
Here we are.
It's crazy. And I think it is due to perseverance, to just saying, I'm going to do what God's blessed me to do. I'm going to keep writing. I'm going to keep singing. And if it's the 15 people, or if it's the 200 people, or if it's the 800 people, this is what I do.
That's awesome. Dan, thank you so much for just being here and sharing your love for God and ministry and songs, and just so proud of you, so grateful for God's hand on your life, and we're praying for 33 more years. Maybe this...
I don't know if I want to go that long.
Maybe this new record will kickstart a whole new thing for you.
My mother lived till she was 96, my dad till 92, and I'm thinking... I don't know that I want to go that long. Yeah. Of course, we don't really have a choice, do we?
Our times are in His hands. So,
amen.
Man, thanks
and
for being
thanks
here.
to you for having me on, John. It's congratulations to you and your success as well with this great ministry and giving writers an opportunity to share their gifts and to hone their gifts and to make what they do better. I applaud you for that.
Thanks, Dan. It's a calling, and sometimes you have to fight to really fulfill your calling. And I think sometimes we get confused and think if God's called us, it's going to be an easy road. And I know looking back on PCD, it wasn't always easy, and you shared some of that. And for sure, serving in ministry can be very difficult sometimes. So thank you for your years doing it. Well, guys, thank you so much. Loved having Dan on the show today. Just one of many shows that I think you'll enjoy. Be sure to go back and check out the archives for Song Revolution. So many great shows. I won't even begin to list them, but they're all there. A lot of teaching. If you're interested on how to market your songs, publishing, copyright, finding killer hooks, melodies, just about anything you can imagine. There's a whole really library of information and inspiration there for you. Thanks for tuning in. Check out everything at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. Check the show notes. We're going to make sure you know how to get Dan's new record, More, and we're very excited to share that and to share his ongoing ministry with you. And until next time, we'll see you. Thanks for joining us on today's show. If you got some value, please help us share the love. Leave a like and a share and a good review. Be sure to check out everything that we have to offer you at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. We'll see you next time.